If you hunt ruffed grouse with a pointing dog and maybe your dog doesn't range out as far as you'd like, today's video I'm going to cover why that might actually be a good thing and how it could be leading to more shot opportunities for both you and your dog. So I'm Kyle Blood with Wild North Kennel. We're located in the heart of ruffed grouse country in northern Minnesota. So we're fortunate where we get to spend 100 to 150 days a year in the woods chasing ruffed grouse with dogs. If you had asked me about a year ago what kind of dog I prefer for ruffed grouse hunting, I definitely would have said something that's a little bigger running, that 150 to 200 yard range. And then about 2 years ago, we got the opportunity to kind of take on another dog for hunting season that kind of fell into that closer working category. And really since then, my tune's completely changed, and a closer working dog has become a permanent fixture of our hunting party, really. So in today's video, I'm going to cover kind of how we got here, as well as some pros and cons that we've seen working with these closer working dogs. And then at the end, I'll go over some kind of specific training focus points that we've implemented that have greatly improved our success hunting with these dogs. So first things first, when I'm talking about a closer working dog, really what I'm talking about is a dog that works in that like 30 to 50 yard range. Maybe they make a big 70, 80 yard cast, but the majority of their time is being spent in that like 30 to 50 yard range. So kind of the way that we got here was about 2 years ago, and it's a long story. I should probably make a video on it sometime to walk through the whole thing because it's really cool. But essentially we were given the opportunity to take on another dog for hunting season with the option to keep him. The dog was about 3.5 at the time, really not a lot of experience to grouse hunting. So we took him that first year, and we definitely saw some really good development and started to find his own birds and all this other stuff. So we spent a lot of time hunting him with our other dogs. And kind of what we noticed is as he learned to find his own birds, even though he wasn't finding as many as maybe our bigger running dogs that were a little more experienced, when he found a bird, we almost always got a shot opportunity. And so as he found more birds, it got to the point where basically we doubled our shot opportunities just by having him with. And so that really he became a permanent fixture of our hunting group. And as we've spent more time with other dogs that were kind of closer working, that trend has held really well. Because of that, closer working dog has really become a permanent fixture of what we do, and we really don't leave the house without him when we're going grouse hunting. Let's talk a little bit about pros and cons. The biggest pro that we see with these kind of closer working dogs really comes down to the amount of shots that you're able to get per point. And what we contribute that to is just the reduced time between when the dog goes on point to when you actually get to flush the bird. So time to point. Because the dog is a lot closer to you than say 150 yards away, there's just a lot less time between when the dog goes on point to when you actually get there, which means there's less time for a grouse to run or flush early. So what we find is that the amount of times that we get to actually shoot at the birds that are pointed by these closer working dogs is a lot higher than with our longer ranging dogs. So while the longer ranging dogs might find more birds, it doesn't mean we get more shots. We probably get about the same number of shots. So really this time to point, really critical, and it just comes down to because they're closer, there's a lot less time between when they go on point and when you actually get there. So the second thing that's really nice about these closer working dogs is the training opportunities. So because they're closer and you can actually see them, lots of times you get to see how they interacted with the bird, which lets you know what you need to do in your training. So maybe they chased the bird, maybe they crept in on scent, they could have done any number of things, but because you get to see it, you know exactly what you need to do for training. One of the hardest things in the grouse woods for us definitely comes down to knowing what to do because we didn't get to see the situation. For example, we have a dog 100, 150 yards away and a bird flushes out in that general area. Well, we don't know if the dog bumped it, maybe it's a stop to flush. We don't know if the dog even saw it. We can assume it did, but we don't know that for sure. We don't know if it ripped it. Ripping is when it purposely flushes it. We don't know any of those things because we can't see it. Here, you get to see what the dog is doing so you can make the proper training adjustment. Big advantage, and it really helps get that dog up to speed or at least keep your training as tight as you possibly can. Now the last part, this is purely personal, is you get to see the dog, which is just super fun. anytime you get to see a dog work and work birds and hunt cover and do all that is a good time. We personally really enjoy that, so these closer working dogs just add a lot to the hunt for us from that way. When it comes to cons, really we only have one, and it's just access to cover. Because these dogs aren't going out and seeking out new cover by, bringing you to another ridge or maybe another cut, wherever you walk is where you get to hunt, which can be really good, but what we find is that we don't learn the pieces of cover nearly as well as we do with, say, a longer ranging dog. So the access to cover, the only con that we can think up, but once again, you're just hunting where you're walking. So if you want to walk a long ways, pick a really good path, you can still have plenty of success with these dogs. So lastly, I want to talk a little bit about some training focus areas that we spend a little bit of extra time on with these closer working dogs. And really there's just one main area outside the other standard training that we do that we really focus in on, and that's backing. So backing. So what is backing? Backing is when you have a dog on point, another dog comes in and sees that dog on point and stops before it goes and bumps the bird. It stops when it sees the dog, so it backs that first dog. This becomes really important for us when we're grouse hunting, specifically because our standard dog setup is we have a long range pointing dog, our closer working dog, as well as a flusher. And so during the hunt, it's pretty likely that at some point that longer ranging dog is going to go on point for us. And when it does, we got to work to that point. Well, as we do, we bring the other dogs with us. So by design, we are bringing a dog into another dog on point. So having really good back is important because as we get there, it's really hard for us to see, past 10, 15 yards or so. So this dog's likely going to see our other dog on point before we ever do. So for that dog to see it and back and not run in and blow that bird out, really gets us a lot of shot opportunities, and it's just better for everyone all around. So backing, really important. All the other standard training is as well, but for us specifically, backing becomes really important. So I hope in this video you were able to see how there's some major advantages really to having maybe a closer working dog in the grouse woods. If you liked this video, we did do breakdowns of the other two dogs that we use for grouse hunting, which are a longer ranging pointing dog as well as a flusher. If you'd like to look at those, you can find them here. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.